Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Stacey Bailey, and I am excited to be with you today whenever you are watching this. Um, I am from the downtown Charleston area on the north side of the peninsula. I'm the COO at Reason One. We're a digital agency in town, and I'm a proud climate ambassador for the city of Charleston, and excited to be volunteering as a concerned citizen and talking to you about the 5-year climate action plan that the city of Charleston has adopted. I'm here to inspire my community and help implement this plan and show you what you can do, what we all can do collectively to do our part. So, as I said, I'm Stacey Bailey, and I am here because the Earth is warming. Charleston could be underwater, and that stinks. And I would like to prevent it, or at least slow it down. Um, we've got a lot going on for ourselves here in Charleston, and we have a lot at risk and at stake globally and locally. And so while I am not a City of Charleston staff member, I'm just partnering with the city and have been trained to give this presentation as a climate activist and concerned citizen. So we're here to talk about what impacts from climate change Charleston's facing, and we'll also look at and talk about the recently adopted climate action plan. Lastly, we'll finish with what we as individuals and as a community can do to address our changing climate. So the impacts of climate change in Charleston specifically. So how is our planet warming? Just so you know, this visual was adapted from the Climate Reality Project. So we have solar radiation in the form of light waves that are passing through our atmosphere. And most of this radiation is absorbed by the Earth and warms it. But some of that energy is radiated back into space by the Earth in the form of infrared waves. Some of this outgoing infrared radiation is trapped by the Earth's atmosphere and warms it. So when we add I'm going to move my face. When we add greenhouse gases to our atmosphere, they build up and act like a blanket around the Earth, and that traps heat. And as the blanket thickens with an increase in CO2 concentration, more of the outgoing infrared radiation is trapped. And this is leading to long-term warming of our planet, which is disrupting our climate. As a prime example, when humans burn fossil fuels for energy, we add more and more heat, trapping the gases into the atmosphere, which thickens this blanket and makes our planet warmer. So I think this quote is really wonderful. We are the first generation to feel the sting of climate change, and we're the last generation that can do something about it, by Jay Inslee. So, we've all experienced impacts in Charleston of warming climate, and particularly my husband and I used to live on UG Street at King Street, or just off of King Street, where it's a horrible flood zone. In that great big storm in 2015, my car was totaled. Um, we were actually on CNN and being interviewed by CNN for, carrying our 50-pound dogs a block down the way to go to the bathroom. We were trying to save neighbors' cars. We actually had to trick the school's fence into opening, thinking that there was a siren so that we could push cars into the school's parking lot. It was a really intense flood, and that was just one of several while we lived there. So, it's certainly a real situation that we're facing on a regular basis. We're seeing these impacts all over the globe. Here's a picture from smoke from Australia's 2020 wildfires that you could see around the globe. The monsoon rainfall in Bihar that was 50% higher than usual. Oregon had 2,300 homes burned by wildfires in September of 2020. And here you can see that this graph is showing how extreme weather events are increasing in frequency with time. And you can see that this increase in extreme events correlates to the next slide around the increase in global temperature. So here, to just go back and forth for a second, you can see the trend here, and it's the same trend here in global carbon emissions. So this is showing a clear rise in global temperatures over time. And this was provided by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, also known as the IPCC. The fluctuations in surface temperatures occur because during normal conditions in the Pacific Ocean, trade winds are blowing west along the equator, warming the water from South America towards Asia. To replace that warm water, cold water is rising from the depths in a process known as upwelling. El Nino and La Nina are two opposing climate patterns that break these normal conditions, and scientists are calling this phenomena the El Nino Southern Oscillation, or ENSO. Here we see our local sea level rise data on the Charleston Harbor. You can again see the same correlation between the former graphs. Charleston experienced 1.07 feet of sea level rise in the past 100 years, and that's about half of that has occurred in the last 20 years. So the rate of sea level rise is increasing faster now than in the past. And this graph was provided by NOAA at the Charleston Tide Station. This data from the vulnerability assessment shows that even if homes are elevated, roads can become inaccessible in a bad flood, which can inhibit emergency access like fire trucks, ambulances, or your route to a hospital. So like I mentioned, living on UG Street, we had lots of floods, and there were other times where I couldn't actually get home because I was out when a flood came in or when the rain came in, and I was trying to drive around to get home and had to park several blocks away and trudge through knee-deep water just to get back to my house. Can you imagine doing that if you had an actual urgent emergency situation? And let's be fair, I cried a lot in that circumstance because not being able to get home is scary, especially in a big storm. So while nobody can predict the future, we can use data and technology to make projections. This video you can find online. I'm not going to show it here, but we can look at some stills from this video as possible future impact. So these are captured screenshots from the video depicting areas in Charleston if a storm surge similar to Hurricane Hugo happened during a high tide event. So here we have the southern facing view across Spring and Cannon Street, or what might Battery Park look like at White Point Garden at the King Street area, the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist, the Northeast Concord Street. So, we don't know exactly what it could look like or if it'll happen, but knowing what it might look like through these projections can give us a sense of urgency for what we need to do. So this is where Charleston's climate action plan comes in. So the good thing, we can do something about this. It isn't too late. There is hope, but we have to take action now. So we have to do something. All of us individually can do something. Thankfully, we have a plan to take action for a healthier future. The city of Charleston is taking steps to keep our community healthy through a climate action plan, which is a 5-year strategic framework to reduce carbon pollution. The climate action plan is made up of 4 sectors, and what we'll focus on today is how we can tackle the climate challenge by addressing these topics in our own everyday lives. So you can see that the 4 sectors are buildings, transportation, waste, and carbon sinks. So the 5-year action plan reflects on the latest science. It aligns with industry standards. It aligns with other city plans, and it emphasizes the importance of ongoing and equitable community engagement. It received unanimous support from the City Council in May 2021, so thanks to all of the community's input. We also know that it's a 5-year plan because technology is going to change, and so the plans are going to have to adjust. So this is a 5-year plan with anticipation of the next set of time adjusting for however technology improves at that time. So the climate action is rooted in social equity. Some communities are going to be historically underserved and underrepresented. These at-risk communities bear the brunt of these climate impacts. So the climate action plan is centered on equity and ensures that both benefits and challenges of climate action are shared equitably among all community members. Each draft action was reviewed with an equity lens, and participants from the city's Special Commission on Equity, Inclusion, and Racial Reconciliation served on the city's new Climate Action Plan Task Force, and vice versa. The Climate Action Plan process took 6 months, engaged 1,000 members of the community, including 150 volunteers who helped draft the plan. I was in one of these working groups and I'm very proud to have been a participant. There were some incredibly smart people in my working group that were very intimidating with their knowledge of, of sustainability and all of the things we can do. It was very inspiring. So this plan was built by the community for the community. The Climate Action Plan requires realistic and attainable action from both the city and the community. So it was divided into 51 actions, which are split into these 4 sectors that I mentioned before: buildings, transportation, waste, and carbon sinks. A co-benefit, if you aren't sold on reducing emissions, then you'll at least love co-benefits. Co-benefits are for everyone. The plan highlights the many ways that we can reduce emissions while also improving our quality of life. So we have things like cost savings or safety. You've got historic preservation and cultural preservation, beautification, improving mobility. There's all kinds of co-benefits to this plan. So the emission reduction targets, we have a very ambitious goal to be net zero by 2050 with at least 56% reduction by 2030. This is a long-term emission reduction goal and it aligns with industry standards. And so the shorter-term goal of 56% reduction by 2030 is, what we can work on over the coming handful of years. This graph is displaying Charleston community's entire greenhouse gas inventory over time. But what really stands out is that it's important to note the orange part of the graph. And that orange part is showing 2% of the community's emissions come from the city government itself, like City Hall and other operations. So 98% of it is coming from the community, like your home and my home. So this is where we all have to come together to work to do our part. So we need your help. So since most of carbon pollution comes from private businesses and individuals, everyone's got a role to play. Small individuals can really add up to create big community impact, and we can do this together. Let's do this together, y'all. So you can take the climate action today. We have a checklist that is on the last page of the plan. It shows you what you can do. You can easily print it out. We're not going to go through the whole list, but we will highlight a couple of the impact areas. And, we encourage you all to get access to this online and have it for yourself at home or on your phone or whatever you've got to remind yourself on the regular basis. So let's look at some of these. We have protecting our air and water. We all know flooding is a problem. It's only going to get worse, right? So floodwaters actually carry bacteria that not only hurt our marshes and oceans, but can actually get into our drinking water. So you can help reduce flooding and protect your air and water quality by planting trees and native plants. Trees also sequester carbon dioxide during photosynthesis, so they help reduce carbon pollution. If you're not sure where to start, the city has awesome resources online to help you plant the right tree in the right place. So you learn to plant in winter, or like a live oak tree needs space where it can grow. Those kinds of things. Excuse me. Native plants are already really well adapted to the area, so they have deep root systems that can withstand our random weather patterns. Clemson has an excellent native plant database online, and it's linked to here in this presentation that you can get afterwards. We're doing some updates in our yard and doing native plants, and I'm very excited. So here we have the Charleston's Street Tree Program. This is what our local government's doing. So for a small fee, a city staff will meet you on site and help you choose what tree would be ideal, plant it for you, water it regularly. Like the city offers this service. So if you're looking to plant a tree and you want to make sure you got the right one in the right spot, click on that link. So reducing your own waste, what we can do, we can compost our food. Did you know that food waste going to landfills generates methane pollution 25 times more potent as carbon dioxide at trapping heat in our atmosphere? So we could prevent this pollution and reduce flooding, right? Isn't that wild? In Charleston, we don't have the best draining soils that absorb a lot of water. However, we do have the ability to increase our soil's capacity to absorb water by improving soil health. Organic matter holds 18 to 20 times its weight in water and is a great way to produce your own through compost. You can try this in your backyard. You can participate in a city's new composting program starting this fall. And you can use compost not only to help reduce flooding and also diverts food from the landfill and reduces climate pollution. Personally, at our house, we also we use Compost Now. It's a service that comes and picks up your bucket of your compost every week, and then they'll bring you back the compost afterwards. So if doing it at home is too intimidating and you can't wait until the city's program comes out, you can holler at Compost Now. That's just my own, sponsored by no one, just my own personal experience. What the local government is doing, in 2016, Charleston Restaurant Composted had a pilot program. And now there's going to be a Charleston composting drop-off program this winter, and Charleston County compost bins are coming. So it's very exciting, lots of compost action. It's amazing how much reduction in our trash and waste we had when we started composting. Between recycling and composting, our trash amount is so little. So you can help make your home more resilient. Our marshes, beaches, and oceans are some of the most beautiful treasures in the Low Country. So whether you like to swim or fish, kayak, go out, we want to protect our ecosystems for future generations to come. There are 2 city programs that can help preserve our natural habitats and help make your home more resilient by reducing flooding. The first program is called Adopt a Drain, which I did because of this presentation. I went on and signed up for the drain outside my house. Storm drains can be cleared one day and then blocked by leaves or litter the next, which can worsen flooding and contaminate waterways. An easy way to do it is to adopt a storm drain near you. Anyone can adopt. It's free. You just sign up and say that you want to make sure to caretake for that drain. So it reduces flooding, it reduces pollution, and it makes things more beautiful, beautification. You can make your home more resilient through installing rain gardens and cisterns. This picture is from Corinne Jones, playground downtown that has a beautiful garden, community garden, and a rain garden right next to it. So you can capture rainwater where you want it, so it doesn't pond where you don't want it through the installation of a rain garden. And it protects water quality by keeping carbon sinks healthy, and they're the key to reducing carbon pollution. So what local government is doing for reducing transportation footprint, there's the Holy Spokes bike share. You have to have seen these bikes out and around town. We all know traffic's a problem and it's only going to get worse as well as more and more people move to town. So we can reduce traffic and cut pollution by biking or walking or taking public transit if possible. Check out the city's bike share program. In addition to improving mobility and reducing traffic, it reduces carbon pollution too. What we can all do, we can ride bikes, we can walk, we can use public transit, we can carpool, electric vehicles when possible. There's all kinds of ways that we can reduce our carbon footprint through transportation. So, I would assume that anyone watching this likes to save money, right? Many of us are troubled by high utility bills. When we waste energy, those bills get higher. We can save money, put cash in our pockets, and reduce our consumption needs. Um, and both Dominion and Berkeley Electric give away free energy assessments and offer discounts on light bulbs and tips on how to save energy. So you can check out their websites for more information. Not only do these steps help save money, but they reduce carbon emissions and keep our planet healthy. Sustaining our own lifestyles. One of the first ways you can sustain your lifestyle is to think about what you eat. Where does your food come from? So let's take an example like eating beef. Cattle are the number one agricultural source of greenhouse gas in the world. Ugh. Each year, a single cow is going to belch about 220 pounds of methane. So then we can think about the cow on the supply chain. So you've got the land use for raising the cow and feeding the cow, the farm, and the methane from that process, from cows and rice and fertilizers. You've got animal feed that has to come to the farm, the production and processing to feed the livestock. You've got the processing of the meat and the process of converting the products into the final food items. You've got transportation of that meat across the country and internationally. And then you've got the emissions and the energy use and refrigeration and other retail, the packaging, the packaging of all of these things and their end of life disposal. So it's not just the cow, it's also the cow across the supply chain. This graph might be a little hard to see, but the first bar on the graph is for beef. Making beef produces the most emissions compared to other food choices. So the things you might be able to read or not read on here, I'll get close and squint for you. The second one under beef is lamb and mutton. The third is cheese. I was really sad to see where chocolate is. It's number 5. Lower on this graph and the smaller ones are like eggs and rice and fish that are sustainably caught. And even milk is in the middle there. At the bottom, you can see that CO2 emissions from most plant-based products are as much as 10 to 50 times lower than most animal-based products. Just because they don't require as much transportation and packaging and all these kinds of things. So I am not a vegan. I'm not even a vegetarian, but I have tried to reduce my dairy intake. We've been trying to reduce our meat intake, doing things like meatless Mondays. Just anything you can do to reduce helps. You don't have to eliminate it entirely. Also, we can eat more plant-based. We can reduce the consumption. That's what I'm trying to do. Seeking out more local vegetables, finding farmers markets. The Poorhouse has an amazing farmers market on Sundays. There's the Essentials Market in Marion Square. There's all kinds of farmers markets around town. And then you're buying local vegetables that do not require the supply chain and all of that. Even buying and consuming local meat has its impact because you're reducing that supply chain requirement and you're supporting local farmers. So, consider where your food comes from and what things you can do to change on your lifestyle. So there's free recipes online like purplecarrot.com. There are some great vegan restaurants in town. Neon Tiger's awesome. Harbinger Cafe, Gnome Cafe, Marty's Place. There's places you can go just to try something new and see how it makes you feel. Like I said, meatless Mondays and shopping at your local farmers markets are also really great options. And Neon Tiger, for real, that food is crazy good and is very tricky. You think you're eating meat and it is not. It's wild. Highly recommend. So we can, instead of purchasing our latest and greatest, we can do things like shifting our mindset to hold on to, fix up, get creative, and extending the life of things that we've already purchased, whether that's clothing or furniture or, office supplies, like whatever it is. There are online tools like Poshmark Offer up Facebook Marketplace. I sell so much stuff on Facebook Marketplace because clearly I look like somebody that would. Um, Thrift stores are great. So, buying things that are previously loved is a really great way to reduce your footprint. Clothing actually produces 10% of all global emissions. So 2,700 liters of water are used to make a simple t-shirt, and that's enough drinking water for one person for 2.5 years. It's a lot of energy to make one t-shirt. So before you throw all that stuff out or go buy a whole bunch of new stuff, see where you might be able. Thread up is also a good option. Sorry, I'm just going off book here. You have to help. I hope it's clear that the government can't meet this challenge alone, and we really need your help. We can take individual actions to address the climate crisis, encourage small group action, like at your business, at your school, at your club, at your place of worship. Personally, I'm trying to teach my kids about picking up trash, to be good stewards of our land. So on the way to school, we pick up trash every day. There are little changes that make a big impact. And if anybody knows Kate Counts, who is a wonderful yoga instructor in town, and she's been talking about the ripple of impact for the better part of a year or two. Little changes make a big impact. Ripples together make waves, and we can do this together. So take the climate action. Be a part of the solution. There are links to every program mentioned today on the city's webpage. There are specific links to each program that I can paste into an email and send to you. You can holler at Sustainable Charleston or at Sustainability CHS that you see there on Facebook and Instagram to get more information. It's important to talk about climate change and discuss with people what we can do. There are two big myths. One, it won't affect me. Two, there is nothing I can do. And I hope I have put those to rest and inspired you to get involved. If you're interested in becoming a climate ambassador, you can email Katie McCain, who is Charleston's Director of Sustainability. She's amazing. She's a personal friend, and I'm very inspired by her and all of the work she's doing. If you'd like to get engaged in broader climate movement, you can learn more about organizations to get involved and volunteer with at the website, charleston-sc.gov/2020/u-can-help. Also, I'm sure you can just Google that and it'll come up. I really appreciate your time and for your commitment to take action today. I challenge you to sign the pledge and commit to take at least one action today. You can scan the QR code on your smartphone or visit the link to fill out the pledge form. Commit to being part of the solution. It takes 3 minutes. Find one thing you can do today. Yeah? Thank you. Let's do this together. Again, my name is Stacey Bailey, and you're welcome to reach out to me on any of the socials or via email. You can Google me and I will show up. Would welcome any time to talk or give you ideas on how to get involved. Appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful day, whatever day it is for you, wherever you may be. And I'll see you next time.